Welcome to my comparison video between KZ EDX, the white one, the TRN MT1, which is the clear one, and the QKZ VK4. This is a requested video because people want to see what A and B basically try alike compared to C. Yeah, so let's get straight into it. I won't mention cables, tips, anything like that because they're all in the separate videos. So yeah, I'll get on to basically the build of these. They're all built, obviously, as you can see, on the cheaper side. They didn't cost a lot to make, is probably the best way to describe it. This looks very similar to the QKZ VK1 I reviewed last year. I didn't keep that model, it's one I sold on, but it looks very similar. Obviously they're all single dynamic drivers. These two are very similar on the left. I paid around £6 for those, and those are about £5. I think these are around 10 and 11. So the VK4 is nearly twice the price of these two, so you have to bear in mind. And there's also a deal on these. You can get two, I think two for $10, which makes the best value easily out of these three. Obviously fit and comfort on all three was fine. They are, as you can see, like a kind of a safe design. You can see from the actual shape. Yeah, so get into sound. They're all basically kind of V-shaped, but the tuning is a little bit different. These two have the closest tuning, and then that one's a little bit different. So low end, let's get into it. They're all, as you say, they're all V-shaped. They're not bass monsters or nothing like that, but they do all have an emphasised low end. They're basically a fun sound, is probably the best way that I describe it. So yeah, they all have an emphasised low end, so that means they've got increased mid bass and sub bass, as in the fun. That's why I class them as fun. They're all decent enough in the low end. I think these two are slightly better, but the bigger difference is when you get to the mids and treble, which I'll get to in a second. But yeah, they're all like the low end. They're all fun. I won't go overly much into detail because these are very cheap, so bear in mind. And like I said in the video for the MT1, they're not flagship killers or anything like that. They are perform well for the price. So back to the low end. They're all fun. There's nothing really amazing about the driver speed and nothing like that. It just performs well for the price, and they all do have it elevated. I'd say these two are probably the closest in that kind of aspect. And the VK4 is a little bit. It depends. The VK4 seems to suffer from unit variation. So some are more bassy than others. So you have to bear that in mind. But yeah, the low end on all of these is fine, to be honest. Now the difference is the EDX and the MT1. These are both elevated upper mids, so female vocals are typically more forward. But where the differences lie is the EDX seems to sound more harsh than the MT1 does. Listen to these back to back, these just sound more refined, and this goes into the actual treble area as well, the lower treble. The MT1 just sounds more refined. They've got the same kind of detail, and the separations kind of similar. The instrument stick out kind of the same, but the MT1 sounds more refined. Same as all the treble. The measure quite similar, but out of these two, the MT1 is probably the better. The VK4 to me sounds a little bit smoother than those two, and also these are all very easy to power as well, by the way. But the VK4 is my oldest unit here. I've had this since the end of 2019, so I don't know if anything's changed. And obviously the EDX, I bought these as soon as they came out. So there's obviously a bit of a difference when these was built. But yeah, upper mids, lower treble is smoother on the VK4 over the MT1, and then that over the EDX. Obviously the EDX is the cheapest, I think, in this lineup. But yeah, I won't overly go too much into it, but isolation is fine on all of them, nothing amazing because they're not sealed because they're dynamic drivers. Stage and imaging is fine across all of them, they're nothing amazing, but yeah. And the main thing is the tonality now, so the overall sound is my VK4 is probably my favourite here, followed by the MT1, and then followed by the EDX. As you say, they're all easy to power, but the actual sound signature is, yeah, the VK4 or the oldest here, and probably still my favourite. And then right behind that is the MT1, and then behind that is the EDX. So basically the EDX out of these three is probably the worst overall. Obviously it's still very cheap, but then if you can get these two, you get two for $10. I think it's on the TRN global store, if that's possibly it. If you get two of these for $10, that's easily the best value for money here. And then you could just use one as a spare, and then another one as like a daily beater just to take with you. But yeah, I don't want to keep this video going on too long, but overall, my opinion is, out of the ones I have, is the VK4 is my favourite. Obviously they all have 2-pin detachable as well, but the other tonality, the overall sound, slightly the smoothest. They both all obviously have plenty of low end. They're not overly bassy. They got enough bass, but yeah, my favourite is the VK4. So that's first place. Then second is the MT1, but there's not much between them, to be honest. But then again, value for money, the MT1 is the best, and then right behind that is the EDX. I won't really recommend these anymore because these exist and these exist, but I'm going from what my units are like. But as of this video, as of today, I saw someone receive the MT1 and they had a faulty driver. So you have to bear in mind build quality and quality control. I haven't heard anything bad about EDX, and I heard a few cases of the VK4. I don't know if they fixed that or the cases are very rare. I don't know. From what I have, from my set, all mine work fine. VK4 is my number 1. MT1 is number 2, and the EDX is number 3. I don't really recommend them anymore. I'd recommend these two if you can. That's probably the best value. But the overall sound on them is actually quite good. Shame these just don't sound refined in comparison. Just sounds kind of harsh. So really, my money, if I was to buy these, would be kind of these two really. And also bear in mind, I bought all of these. These aren't review units. I had no discounts. All these are mine. So yeah, so I don't go into much detail. The video is nearly 9 minutes long already, but still good options. Other options which are actually quite good as well, which are slightly more expensive than these, are the Blonde 01, KB KS1, not the KS2, the hybrid, the KS1, which is a single DD. And then for a little bit more, you got the Tin T1 Plus. All good options, but are obviously more expensive than this. But in this kind of between £5 to £10, £11. Obviously dollars, it's different, but for my currency, these probably are two of my favourite. Probably that for the best value for money, technically, because that's £6-ish to about 10 and 11, maybe 12. So come to twice the price. So if you're going for sheer value for money, they're probably the best. But for sheer sound and overall sound, I think the VK4 is the winner. And yeah, anything else you want to know, as usual, let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching. Good old single DDs, bargains, and yeah, thanks for watching and take care.